He takes precious time on the toilet to post about our show. Keeps saying we have bad ratings, and you should listen to him, because if anyone knows about bad ratings, it's that guy.
Well, I've watched this guy. He's a loser. He gets no ratings, none. He's got no talent. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, I whenever I watch, I just can't believe that he's even on the air. He shouldn't be on the air. In the old days when you didn't have good ratings, or you didn't have any ratings practically, you get fired. He should be canned.
I have honestly lost count now of how many times the president has demanded I be pulled off the air. I mean, talk about a snowflake, this guy. Every 5 weeks, he flips out and wants me fired. If you got this many threats from a neighbor, you'd have no problem getting a restraining order. The judge would be like, yeah, it sounds like the guy's nuts. Boom. It's disturbing. You know, and you've done this before. You tried to get me fired in September. It didn't work. Mr. President, I admire your tenacity. If you're watching tonight, which I presume you are, how about this? I'll go when you go, okay? We'll be a team. Let's ride off into the sunset together like Butch Cassidy and the Suntan Kid. And until then, if I may borrow a phrase from you, quiet, piggy. Okay? We never stop.
Markwayne is fantastic. He became very successful. He took over a small company from his parents, and he made it very, very successful, made money. He was also a very good fighter, very, very good fighter. I don't know, I never heard low-level MMA. I mean, if you fight these guys, these are rough cookies, and if you fight, and he had a good record. He had a very good record in fighting. But, that's unimportant. But he is sort of a fighter. But more than anything, I call him country smart. He's a very smart guy. He's got a great way. Everybody loves him. He got a couple of Democrat votes, which is shocking nowadays, right? But everybody loves him, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job. He's got a great way about him, and people respect him a lot.
Let me make this very clear. I'm not upset that the head of Homeland Security used to be a plumber. I'm upset that he isn't still a plumber, okay? And the best part of all of this, all the outrage from Finnerty and Hannity and the Five, is that I distinctly remember some very serious concerns resume-wise when it came to a certain former bartender from New York.
Before Ocasio-Cortez was elected to Congress, her resume is she was a bartender.
The Congresswoman is kind of like Vice President Kamala Harris, but with more bartending experience.
She has no idea where Venezuela is on a map because they don't teach geography in bartending school.
Why the governor of Michigan is speaking in Munich on foreign policy, or AOC, who was a bartender a few years ago.
The bartender from Queens.
She may have been a good bartender.
That bartender.
She's a bartender.
A former bartender.
Bartender turned politician.
29-year-old bartender.
I mean, this lady is less than 2 years removed from searching behind the bar for plant life when somebody ordered a root beer.
Well, on behalf of bartenders everywhere, we anxiously await your apology. You do the bartenders, I'll do the plumbers, okay?
If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every
Hold it. No, sit down. Oh, you're a clown. Sit down. Look at you. You're a United States Senator. Sit
active.
Oh, okay. President Trump says a lot of stuff, and we all support it. But it's like, okay, what's the details on this? So what does that actually look like? I don't think he can actually exile an American citizen. I know he can an illegal.
If they actually required you to have a judicial warrant on every individual you picked up that was here illegally, the entire country would become a sanctuary city.
Should those babies be deported, Senator, with their parents? Are you saying those babies should be deported with their parents?
Well, they should go where their parents are. Why wouldn't you send a child with their parents?
You think Omar really loves our country?
No.
She doesn't love our country. She wants to change our country. And You're going, okay, well, if you go back to where you came from then.
It sounds very similar to what we've been hearing from this administration, so it doesn't appear that anything's actually going to change here.
There might not be changes in policy, and I thought it was telling. My colleagues and I talked to a lot of people inside the department when he was announced, and they all were sort of celebrating. They were high-fiving in the hallways. They were excited that Kristi Noem was finally gone, and then sort of the realization hit that this might not be so different. And there's so much uncertainty around how he might actually run this department. The thing to keep in mind is it's not just immigration policy, as Miles pointed out. It is a sprawling department that does so much for the government. And a lot of these career officials just want someone competent. They don't want to be berated every day by Corey Lewandowski. They don't want the chaos and kind of not knowing whether they're doing what they're doing, if they're doing it right, if they're going to get fired or put on administrative leave the next day. So in that sense, there's some hope that there might be some, little bit lack of chaos in some ways. But in terms of policy, it's going to be a similar thing where Stephen Miller, the White House, is dictating a lot of the policies. And then the hope is that Mullin would listen to career officials, longtime ICE officials, CBP officials in enacting that policy. And also perhaps take a less headline-grabbing approach, not be sort of the star of the show, not create a spectacle of immigration enforcement.
Baby, let me never be unpopular enough for people to be high-fiving in the hallways if I get fired. Oh, my God, that is so embarrassing. Oh, that's terrible.
Trina, actually, I want to stick with you for a second about some of your reporting and something that Miles mentioned, which is that this job is now more important than ever since we are in a war. You had some great reporting on Inspector General's investigations into Nome and the ways that she has made the country less safe. Can you talk a little bit about that and whether or not you think that Markwayne Mullin is now qualified to be that person to ensure that we don't have another 9/11-esque situation on our hands?
That's right. We reported that the Inspector General has said that Christine Nome was systematically obstructing several investigations that they were doing, including one that was a criminal investigation with national security implications. The Inspector General said he found that one to be, quote, particularly egregious. We don't know the details of that. But we know that she was doing everything she could to block these investigations. Another security concern that was raised was a TSA policy that she did. She came up with, the shoes off policy that was very popular with passengers. But the Inspector General said it created a security vulnerability, and they were trying to talk to Christine Nome about this for months, and they claimed they were ignored and finally had to go to Congress as of February because they were so concerned about this. So the department does so many things, and there's so many concerns here. And one of the things I heard from officials repeatedly was that they felt the secretary was downplaying or at times completely ignoring national security concerns.
Let's just stop and take in what happened this week, because I think it deserves more than a passing headline. Markwayne Mullin was sworn in as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, the agency responsible for protecting nearly 340 million Americans from terrorism, natural disasters, and threats both foreign and domestic. And when the President of the United States introduced him to the country, do you know what Donald Trump chose to brag about? His MMA record. Not his policy expertise, not his vision for national security, his fighting record. That tells you everything. At his confirmation hearing, Mullin faced pointed questioning from Senator Rand Paul, the committee's own Republican chairman, who confronted Mullin for calling Paul a freaking snake and for suggesting he understood why Paul was violently attacked by a neighbor, an assault that fractured multiple ribs. And here's the stunning part. When pressed to apologize or express regret, Mullin flatly refused. "I'm not apologizing for pointing out your character," he told Paul on the record. This is the man now leading the most powerful domestic law enforcement apparatus in the United States. Mullin stated he has zero problems with the idea of summarily executing suspected cocaine smugglers. No trial, no due process, no statutory authorization. He seemed unbothered when immigration agents fatally shot a Minneapolis protester, immediately labeling the victim a deranged individual before any investigation had concluded. And when Rand Paul, one of the most libertarian voices in the Senate, called for an independent investigation, Mullin dismissed it. Think about that. When even Rand Paul is the voice of restraint, you know something has gone dangerously off the rails.
Within days of being sworn in, Mullin moved to rescind a rule requiring cabinet-level approval for DHS contracts exceeding $100,000, removing financial oversight at a department already mired in corruption scandals. Less accountability, more unchecked spending power. That's his opening move. And then came the theater. Trump called Mullin country smart on Fox News, while attacking Jimmy Kimmel as a loser for daring to question Mullin's qualifications. Country smart. The President of the United States defending his Homeland Security Secretary by implying he's smart for a guy like that. The condescension of that phrase alone should make Mullin's supporters furious, but they won't be because the performance is the point. Meanwhile, Jen Psaki correctly called out Trump for rushing to take credit for resolving the TSA payment crisis, a crisis his own administration created by leaving DHS partially shut down for weeks. He broke it, then handed it to Mullin, then claimed the credit. Classic. Here is what I want people to understand. This is not about whether Markwayne Mullin was a plumber or an MMA fighter. Working-class backgrounds are honorable. But as Congressmember Delia Ramirez put it, Mullin has never served on the Homeland Security Committee, and he is now leading an agency that has killed American citizens and carries a well-documented use of force problem. Temperament matters. Accountability matters. The rule of law matters. What we saw this week was the normalization of impunity. A man who cannot say the word sorry now holding the power to detain, deport, and deploy armed federal agents across America. And a president who measures that man's worth not by his judgment, but by how hard he can hit. We should all be paying very close attention.